So let's, without further ado, let's go inshallah to the talk and let's try to benefit as much as we are able to. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for tawfiq.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. Jazakallah khair for having me here. Blessed gathering. It's a pleasure being here. Thank you for the invitation. I was so happy to see here that there's a Quran finishing ceremony as well, with a blessing ceremony to be part of. One of the things that a lot of non-Muslims, they don't understand about Mawlana Rumi and his message is his attachment to the Quran. Most of the Muslims, they know that he was a Hanafi scholar and he was a person who knew the science of Aqidah. As a matter of fact, he was a master of all of the sciences of his time, from fiqh to Aqidah, even philosophy. Some people say Rumi has rejected philosophy, it's the lack of understanding of Rumi rejected philosophy without faith, not philosophy with faith. He was a master of logic, but one of the things that he was master was really he studied the Quran really well, and he loved the Quran. And the essence of his teaching is two things, and in this few lines of his poetry he says, Man bandei Qur'anam agar jan daram, man khak rahi Muhammadi mukhtaram. I am the servant of the Quran for as long as I live, and I'm the dust on the path of Muhammad, the chosen one. Gar naql kunad juz in kas az guftaram, bizaram az ou wa zin sukhan bizaram. And if anyone comes and tells you anything that they relate, anything from me that is not from what I just told you, then I reject those words and I reject those people. In other words, everything that I'm going to tell you in the Mathnawi, in the Divan al-Shams, in the Fihi Ma Fihi, and all his writings, is about these two things, about the love of Allah and the love of the Messenger of Allah, being the servant of Allah and being from the Ummah, a proud person from the Ummah of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And his love of Allah was at the level that he, one of the things about the Quran is, وَمِنْ آيَاتِ خَلْقُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. The Quran says in the Surah Al-Rum that amongst the signs of Allah is that He has created the heavens and the earth. And Mawlana Rumi understood this verse really well. And he said that everything has to be assigned to God. Just like when you drive and you have sign that takes you places, just like GPS that takes you places, they're all signs. He said that everything has to be assigned to God. And then he started looking at everything. And then he said that I start seeing the signs and I start hearing the signs. He said, Har nafas awaz ishq mirasad az chap wa rast. At every breath, I can hear the melody of love, which is Al-Wadud. It's the voice of Al-Wadud, the loving God. It's coming from left and right. What is it telling me? All of these signs, what are they telling me? Because the stones are speaking. We just don't understand them. Right? Sang Ahmad ra salami mi konad. Rumi said that the stones are giving greeting to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When he came from Mount Ghar Hira, when he received the revelation, the stones were saying Assalamu alayka ya Rasulullah. They were giving him greeting. He could hear it. Allah removed the veils. Kuh Yahya ra payami mi konad. And the mountains are speaking to Yahya alayhi salam. Ma sami'im wa basirim wa khushim. The creation says we can hear. We can hear, we can speak, we can see, and we are happy. This is the creation. But we don't speak for those who are not our mahram. And this is the problem, that we haven't become mahram with God's creation. We haven't become mahram. In the Diwan al-Shams, Rumi says, Guyat Sulaiman martura bishnaw lisanu tayra. Sulaiman is giving you an advice and is telling you, listen to the language of the birds. Listen to what the birds are telling you. Dami wa murghaz turhamat. Raw la nashaw, raw la nashaw. Oh human being, you have become a trap And this is why all of the birds are running away from you. Go become a nest. Become a nest. And then you would see that all of creation is singing the song of love. All of creation is guiding you towards one thing, which is Allah. And this is why there's nothing in the creation of Allah that there's two of them. Allah didn't create anything in two. There's no two trees. There's no two stars. There's no two human beings. Everything is one. Every tree is different. Every leaf of every tree is different. There's no two leaves of a tree that you can find that is exactly the same. Every cloud is different. Every rock is different. Everything is one. In order for you to see the one, that on the day of judgment you won't say, I couldn't see the one. Everything is one and is driving you towards the one. And this is that the essence of Mawlana Rumi is to see the one in the many. And this is the essence of teaching of every righteous scholar of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. That's at the foundation of it. But one of the things that Mawlana Rumi does, he takes you from the love of Allah, then he connects you with the Prophet ﷺ. Because he knows that this is the two that you need. You need the love of Allah and His Messenger in order to make it. In order to live a happy life in the dunya and to live happily ever after in the akhirah. That's why you need the two love. And the love of the Prophet ﷺ, if you look at the Masnawi of Rumi, one of the things about Rumi is that he, some people, they don't understand the message of Mawlana Rumi, unfortunately, and they say, oh, he doesn't give enough credit to the Prophet ﷺ. And I always challenge him, I say, you show me a line that is not about the Prophet. Every line is about the Prophet, but he's a poet, and this is why people don't understand poets. He's not writing an article where he's going to tell you everything. He wants you to dig inside and find this. But one thing about the Prophet ﷺ that Mawlana Rumi says that all of creation are there and we are taking this journey. The heavens and the earth, everything is moving. We're going on this journey. But he said, what an honor for us, قافل سالار ما فخر جهان مصطفى, that at the head of this caravan is the best of creation, Muhammad al-Mustafa. He is leading our caravan. He is our leader and we're behind him. What an honor. What an honor to be on this caravan, that the leader is the Prophet ﷺ, because he has the GPS coordinates. He knows exactly where to go. He has the one button home, the divine presence. He has that. And if you follow in his footprint, that's why Mawlana Rumi said, if you just follow the footprint of the beloved, and you will get there. You will get to the destination. But the Prophet ﷺ is at the foundation of the Masnawi is the love of Allah and the love of the Prophet ﷺ. And there's no way you can go anywhere and you can read the Masnawi without just getting drowned in the love of the Prophet ﷺ. One of the things that Mawlana does, he does a beautiful comparison of the Prophet ﷺ. And this comparison is very important because we are human beings and we do fall in love. And people fall in love for beautiful people. And this is the nature of human being. That beauty, the outward beauty is what attracts us at the first level. And you know, that's what gets you to the divine. Ishq ra agaz hast, anjam neest. Love starts with material things. Love starts with the beauty of the outward, but then it becomes eternal. So it's ephemeral at the beginning, but then it becomes eternal. It takes you stage by stage until you get to the divine presence. So Mawlana Rumi says, if you look at the stories of the Quran, at the heart of the Quran you'll find the story of Yusuf alayhi salam. You'll find the story of Yusuf alayhi salam. And Yusuf alayhi salam, because of his beauty. He was so beautiful, he was the most beautiful human being ever created before the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The most beautiful human being. Zulaykha lost her sanity, went crazy, literally lost everything for this man. She was the first lady of Egypt. Everyone went crazy for him. And when they made fun of her, they said, it's in the Quran, it said, bring all of the dignitary women of Misr. They brought them all, set them on the two sides of the room, and then give them the oranges and the knife, and then says, Yusuf, walk. And when Yusuf alayhi salam walked, and you can imagine what kind of magnificent scene that would have been, to look at Yusuf alayhi salam, and they start cutting their hands, right? Mind over matter. From the orange, it went to their fingers, they start cutting their fingers. And this is the power of just looking at the beauty of Yusuf alayhi salam. But the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Yusuf was given half of the beauty, I was given it all. Right? What did they do for the beauty of Yusuf alayhi salam? Iqbal said, Husni Yusuf to dekhkar waha kati thi ungliya. Khud chand kat gaya yaha ungli ko dekhkar. He said, when they saw the beauty of Yusuf, they started cutting their fingers. But the moon was cut in half when it saw the finger of my beloved. Maulana Rumi said, these are lovers of the Prophet. He said, Dar dil man dar nigar, har dam shaqqul qamar. He said, come and look at my heart. And every moment is a splitting of the moon for the Prophet. And every moment and every breath, my heart just bursts in love of the Prophet and it splits in half. I have shaqqul qamar at every breath, man. It had it only one time. This is the love that they had for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Their love, and they want to remind us that it's not just him. It's everything in God's creation. Everything in God's creation love the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There's nothing in God's creation that doesn't love the Prophet. And the peak of the Prophet's life is, we were just talking with the Shaykh, is Isra and Mi'raj. At the peak of his life, this is the greatest night of his life. After going through Taif, the lowest time of his life, losing his beautiful wife, Bibi Khadija, losing his uncle Abu Talib, the worst year of his life, 9th year of Hijrah. You study that year. It's the lowest year. And then Allah rewarded him. With what? With Isra and Miraj. And Allah, if you want to know the maqam of the Prophet ﷺ, you have to get this. Not read it, you have to get it. You have to get it. One of the poets said, Maghrura sukhan mashaw ki tawheed khuda wahid didan buad na wahid guftan. Don't be too arrogant and deluded with your eloquence about the tawheed of God, about the unity of God. Oh, I studied Aqidah, I did this. Because the unity, the oneness of God is to see the one, not to say the one. Everybody, you have Orientalists who don't believe in God, they can prove the existence of God for you. They can prove the oneness of God, but they can't see one. They can say one, but they can't see one. And this is why we have to see these experience these things as the ummah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was at the house of Hani, and then he went to the Hatim in the semicircle around the Kaaba, and he was taking a nap there. And Gabriel came and woke him up. And when he woke up, he got up. Gabriel said, "You're invited." He said, "Where?" He said, "To a place beyond places. A place no one has ever gone and no one will ever go." And the Prophet said, "Where?" And who has invited me? He said, "You're invited by the Rabbul Alameen." Imagine that invitation. You get an invitation from God to go to a place beyond places. And then he said, I got up and I saw an animal, a Buraq. One of the things about this story that really struck me is liars, they don't give details. It's the school of liars. Don't give details because you get caught. You won't remember the details. They always try to be general. But if you look at the Isra and Miraj, you look at the detail and the story, you're amazed at the level of detail. He says, this is Buraq. Allah has chosen this animal for you to go on this journey to the 7th heaven, from here to Jerusalem. The Prophet ﷺ goes towards the Buraq, and the Buraq raises his hand and doesn't allow him to get up. Prophet goes back, and the tribe goes back, the Buraq. It's all of the Seerah. Read every Seerah. I'm not making this up. Read Memorial Links. Read Ibn Hisham. All of the Seerah said exactly the same thing. He raises his hand, doesn't let the Prophet get on it. The Prophet is, why isn't he? What's going on? Gabriel goes and speaks to Buraq in the tongue of Buraq. And then the Prophet ﷺ said, what's going on? Gabriel said, the Buraq is saying that he doesn't want to let you on. Because he said that from the place that they brought me, there was 600,000 Buraqs. We all looked the same height, same color. And all of us were waiting to see which one would be chosen for this night. And amongst all of them, they picked me. And I'm so honored that the best of creation will ride me tonight. So he said, but why wouldn't you let him get on you? He said, from the fear of pain of separation. He said, what fear is that? He said, if he rides me today, I'll get used to him. If he doesn't ride me on the day of judgment, I'll die. This is an animal. It's a haywan. The Prophet said, tell him that I will ride him on the day of judgment as well. In the Sawad al-Azam, he says, the Buraq started to sweat. Lovers. It's out of just joy. And the Prophet went from there to Jerusalem, and then he went. When he went, they said that the Sidratul Muntaha was filled with angels. This is the low tree. This is the furthest point of creation. Beyond that, nobody can cross. All of these angels were sitting there waiting for Rasulullah to come to see him. You can imagine this scene. The Prophet gets there. Gabriel says, the Prophet said, I want to see you. Show me your reality. I want to see your reality. Because he saw his reality on the day of revelation. But that was not his reality. That was the dunya reality. But now it's in the heavens, in the seventh heaven, by the low tree. And he says, okay, I'll show you my reality. And Gabriel opened his wings with 600 feathers. It covered the entire horizon of the seventh heaven from the east to the west. The Prophet fainted. He fainted seeing that. Now Rumi comes in and he says, do you think he fainted because he got scared of Gabriel's wings? No. He fainted just the qudra of Allah. This is one angel. Like this is just one angel, and there's not a footstep in the seventh heaven that there's not an angel. And there's just one of them. Maulana says, Ahmad arbuk shayadan bali jalil ta abad madhush gardad Jibreel. If Ahmad, the chosen prophet, opened his magnificent wings, then Jibreel would be unconscious for eternity. And then the Prophet goes forward. Gof Jibreel o beparan dar payam. Gof raw man harif to niyam. The Prophet went forward and he said, oh Jibreel, come follow me. He said, no. You are in a league of your own. I can't accompany you anymore. چون گذشت احمد ز صدره و مرصدش و از مقام و جبرئیل و از حدش. When the Prophet passed the Jibreel's boundary and he went further, then he said, come Jibreel, all those magnificent wings you were showing me, won't you fly? Come follow me. He said, if I take one more step from here, one more wings, all my feathers will burn and will be annihilated. This is you. This is your station. No one can go further than this. And this is our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is our Prophet. And the thing about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, all of the things he has given us, it's nothing in comparison to what he's going to give us on the Day of Judgment. Wallahi, and he has given us everything. But on that day, when he stands there and asks for shifa, not for the minor sinners, for the people that we don't even want to associate with them. He's an alcoholic. Oh, he's in prison. Oh, he did this. He did that. I'll make shifa for them. He loves his ummah. He loves his ummah. He loves all of you. He loves your children. He loves your grandchildren. You don't even have them yet. Your great-grandchildren. Until the Yawm al-Qiyamah, he loves them. And yet, what do we do for the Prophet ﷺ? Like, what do we do for Allah? And this is why Maulana Rumi is important, because it's a reminder for us that do not lose hope. How could you lose hope when you have Gabriel with 600 wings behind you? When you have the Prophet ﷺ, that Gabriel can't even go behind him as your advocate on the Yawm al-Qiyamah. When you have Allah on your side, how could you ever be hopeless? How could you ever be hopeless? Do you think that Allah is going to abandon you? Allah is going to abandon you, and this is one of the biggest problems that we have. We think Allah doesn't hear us. A lot of people think Allah doesn't hear you. Oh, I made dua, He never answered. Oh, why is this happening to me? Why? We just keep asking this question, why? Why is this happening? But we forget, Allah, the way He treats His servant is as though He has only one servant. Every single one of you has a direct relationship, and 24/7 is connected to you. How often are we connected to Him? How often are we connected to Him? Rumi has a poem, a story about a man. It's called the Dhikr man. And in the story, he has a man who constantly calls upon Allah day and night, and he calls him the Dhikr man. And آن یکی الله می گفتی شب تا که شیرین می شد از ذکرش لبه. There was a man who used to call upon Allah all day, all night, to the degree that his mouth became moist and sweet from the remembrance of Allah. This is one of the beauty of dhikr, that it actually keeps your mouth moist if you remember Allah. One of the great scholars, he said that you don't even need to drink water if you keep making dhikr all the time, because it just stimulates your mouth and you're always moist. So this man is always calling upon Allah and making dhikr. گفت شیطان آخره بسیار گو این همه الله را لبیک کو. So Satan came to him and said, oh, dhikr man, aren't you the one who are constantly calling upon Allah? He said, yeah. He said, have you ever heard a labbaik? That's the first thing shaitan does. Breaks your heart and put doubts in your heart. That's his game. That's his game. He said, have you ever heard a labbaik? You've been calling him all the time. می نیاید یک جواب از پیش تخت چند الله میزنی با روی سخت. Trust me, you will not get an answer from him. He is sitting on a throne in the seventh heaven. I don't think he'll have time to answer your Allah calling. And you're calling him when you're sick, you're calling him when you're happy, you're calling him when you're weak, you're calling him when you're strong. You come from work, you're tired, you're Allah, Allah, Allah. You're going to work, Allah, Allah, Allah. You're sitting after eating, before eating, every time you just keep calling on Allah. He's not going to answer you, trust me. He doesn't have time for you. Millions of times you said Allah, Allah. He couldn't have said one time, labbaik, what can I do for you? Just one time he couldn't have done it. او شکسته دل شد و بنهاد سر دید در خواب او خضر را در خضر. The man's heart was broken. His heart was broken and he stopped calling upon Allah. He Say, yeah, you're right. Never heard an answer, I'm not going to call upon him. And then one day he falls asleep. And when he goes to sleep, he sees Khidr, alayhi salam, in his dream, comes in. And this is symbolism. Khidr in this poem is the sound of God, the voice of God. گفت هین از ذکر چون وامانده ای چون پشیمانی از آن کش خوانده ای. He said, what happened? Weren't you that dhikr man? You used to call upon us all the time. Do you regret calling upon us? Why did you stop making dhikr? گفت لبیکم نمی آید جواب زان همی ترسم که باشم رد باب. He said, I never heard a labbaik, never heard an answer. I'm afraid I'm amongst the rejected ones, so I stopped calling. گفت آن الله تو لبیک ماست وان نیاز و درد سوزت پیک ماست. He said, your calling upon us was the labbaik. Your calling was the labbaik. But then those times when you called, when you were sick and you were moaning, oh, that was the melody of the arsh. Everybody was waiting for those Allahs. When you were calling with pain. حیله ها و چاره سازی های تو جذب ما بود و گشاد آن پای تو. Remember all this time you sinned and then you came up with an excuse? Allah forgive me, I didn't know. Who do you think put that excuse in your head? It was us. Because of your dhikr. We give you leeway. ترس و عشق تو کمند لطف ماست زیر هر یا رب تو لبیک هاست. Your fear of God, your love of God, that was from our lutf. We give it to you. Oh my servant, by my dignity, by my honor, I swear that every time you said Allah, we had 1,000,000 labbaik hidden inside of it. Shaitan was telling him, for 1,000,000 labbaik you didn't hear, with 1,000,000 Allahs you didn't hear one labbaik. Allah is saying, for every Allah I had 1,000,000 labbaik for you. جان جاهل زین دعا جز دور نیست. Now Maulana Rumi flips the story. He said, as for the ignorant people, they can't make the dua. They can't call upon Allah. زان که یا رب گفتنش دستور نیست. Because Allah doesn't give him command to say Allah. بر دهان و بر دلش قفل است و بند. Allah has put a seal on their tongue and on their hearts. He's put a lock on it. تا ننالد سوی حق وقتی گذند. So they can't even call upon Allah when they are in suffering and in pain. داد مر فرعون را صد ملک و مال. God gave Pharaoh all of the dominion of the world. He had everything. Pharaoh had everything of the dunya. تا بکد او دعوی عز و جلال, to the degree that he says, I'm God. I'm your Lord the Most High. That's what he said. داد او را جمله ملک این جهان. Allah gave him everything in this world. Everything. He had men, women, dominion, wealth, armies, everything. لیک ندادش درد و رنج و اندوهان. But Allah didn't give him any pain. Didn't give him any pain. Rumi says the reason why he didn't give him any pain is because he didn't want to say, oh Allah, I have pain. Because the moment you have a headache, you say, oh Allah, my head hurts. It's automatic, it's default setting. Because he was not worthy of calling on Allah's name. 40 years he didn't experience any pain. Right? Umar Abdul Hajj rahimahullah said, what good is a body that doesn't have pain? Dard omad behtar az mulk jahan. So Rumi says, oh my friend, know that pain is better than the world and everything that's in it. Ta bakhani mar khuda ra dar nahan. Because of those moments that you call upon Allah in pain. In the private moment. What is the greatest name of Allah? Everybody's searching for the name of Ismul A'zam. What is the greatest name of Allah? The greatest name of Allah is when you're in pain and you're calling upon Him and it doesn't even make sense. And you're like, that is the greatest name of Allah. Because Allah knows what you're calling, who you're calling. So pain, Rumi says it's better than the world and everything in it because of those private moments of intimacy with your Lord that you're calling upon Him. خواندن بی‌درد از افسردگی است. To call upon God without any pain, anyone can do that. Everybody can do that. خواندن با درد از افسردگی است. خواندن با درد از دلبردگی است. But to call upon God with pain, that is the way of lovers. That is the way of lovers. And this religion of ours is the way of love. And the way of love is not easy. It's not easy. Whoever told you love is easy, they have never fallen in love. Love is not easy. It's going to test you. It's going to test you. But if you stand the test of time, you will witness the sweetness in this dunya and in the akhirah. There are people in this world that it's paradise for them because they're in love with the Prophet ﷺ. They're really in love with him. Wallahi, there are people that are really in love with him. You know, the people who can't sleep at night and they roll in their bed and they cry. And they say, you know, what is it? I just miss Rasulullah. Like there are people like that they actually, like a teenager in love, they roll in their bed and they just cry all night. I just miss my Prophet. And those are the people that experience happiness in the world. And those are the people. That's how you create an abode of happiness. خانه شادی است دلم غصه ندارد چی کنم. هرچی به عالم ترشی دورم و بیزارم از اون. Rumi says, my heart is an abode of happiness and I have no anguish, no sorrow, no grief, no worry, no anxiety. Because of that, he said, I stayed away from things that are bitter and I hang on to the things that are sweet, which is Allah and His Messenger. Those are the only sweet things. And may Allah make us amongst the people that we fall in love with Allah and His Messenger. And then that is our primary love. And that everything else that we love is because of Allah and His Messenger. And things that we dislike is because of Allah and His Messenger. And that we get to know Him, that we get to see Him, that we get to see Him in our dreams. And that we get to drink from His hand, inshallah, at the Hawd and the Yawm al-Qiyamah, to be with Him in paradise. Because paradise without Him is just a bunch of trees. I swear to God, it's just a bunch of trees. If the Prophet is not there, it's just a bunch of trees. It'll be a meaningless place for all of you, for all of us. For all of us. They asked Sa'di, گر مخیر بکنندم به قیامت که چی خواهی دوست ما را و همه نعمت فردوس شما را. They said, Sa'di, if God on the day of judgment says, you know, you're free, choose whatever you want, what are you going to do? He said, I said, give me my beloved, you all can have paradise and all the trees. All the blessing of paradise, all yours, all the hurs and all the food and all the rivers of milk and honey, you can have it. Just give me my beloved. And that's love. That's real love. This is not like some kind of pseudo, statement where people are trying to impress other people. This is real ishq of the Prophet ﷺ, in love of Allah. And that's the foundation of our religion, and that's something that we need to bring it back and teach our children at a young age. And I'm so happy that they're teaching Quran. This is amazing thing to continue this tradition. Maulana Rumi's teacher, Shams Tabriz, was a Quran teacher. And he used to teach Quran to the children. He wouldn't teach the adults. He would just teach the children for fitrah. And he was a painter. This is how he made money and he traveled. And painting is symbolism for not seeing people's fault and just covering people's fault. And just teaching Quran, the book of Allah. That's why he remains in history, because of those two things he did in his life. He could have done a lot of stuff. He was a genius. But he chose those two things. Very high maqam to teach children the Quran. And may Allah bless this institution and all of the children who are learning. And all of the parents, they never get enough credit. But the parents, they put a lot of time and effort to bring their children and to have that zawq, that not only they just finish the Quran, but also to continue to learn more and memorize and learn tajweed and inshallah until they, they master it, inshallah. And some of them should become hafiz. In every community, we need homegrown hafiz of the Quran. We do not need to bring hafiz in the next generation from overseas. If we do, we're doing a disservice to the Islam in Britain. Everywhere I go, I say the same thing. This is time for us. We need to have our own hufaz, our own ulama. We have to stand on our own feet. Still, the community is not. I hope you don't disagree. No. Yeah. Next generation, like our children, amongst our children, there should be, like in every community, 1 or 2 hafiz of the Quran. We need to have our doctors, our engineers, our lawyers. We need to have all of them. But we need to have hufaz. We need to have 1 or 2 alimas. I think we're going to have, inshallah, more alimas in the future than alims. And that's a big problem for the brothers. Watch out. Soon they will know their fiqh and they won't do anything at the house. So if you go on home, you have to cook yourself and wash your clothes. So, but alhamdulillah. Jazakallah khair. Thank you for, I don't know if I went over time. I apologize. But yeah, I went over time.
Jazakumullah khairan. Thank you very much, Sheikh. May Allah increase you and bless you. Now we're opening to questions. Anybody would like to start us off?
Shall I start off?
We've got many poets and people in Islamic history. Why do you feel Rumi's message is so different to anybody else?
So Wasim, so we'll answer it otherwise. All of the poets, I haven't come across any poets in the Muslim, like the one that I read is, the famous, I think a lot of the people from Pakistan, India, subcontinent, your grandfathers, they all spoke Farsi. Most of the people who come from India, they all spoke Farsi because the curriculum, they had Persian as a part of the curriculum. As a matter of fact, I know people that they know better Farsi than me, and they learned it in India when they were young. So Saadi was part of the curriculum. They learned it in India. They used it. The Gulistan was, the Bostan and Gulistan was part of the curriculum. If you look at all of the poets, whether it's Saadi or Hafiz, Attar Nishapuri, from the ancient Maulana Rumi, Nizami, there's a lot of Persian, and then Amir Khusrau, Dehlavi. There's a lot of beautiful Indian poet. The later Indian poet in Persian is Abdul Qadir Bedil, which is considered the highest. They call him Abul Ma'ani, the father of meaning, and it's the highest level of Persian poetry. Very few people understand him fully right now alive. It's hard to find a teacher to study that under, but this is very complicated poetry. It's very deep. His diwan is actually magnificent. And from the contemporary, obviously, I think Iqbal is probably the greatest poet we had in the past 100 years in Pakistan or Afghanistan or Iran and Tajikistan, all those Farsi-speaking places. There's no debate about that within the Iranian community or Afghani community. Nobody debates that. Iqbal is the greatest. We did have a lot of great poets in this century. Khalilullah Khalili from Afghanistan was a genius. From Iran, we had quite a few. Mehdi Suhaili is one of my favorite. Feraidoon Mojadedi, who my father named me after, as a great poet. He died, about a decade ago or so. These are really amazing poets. But, like Iqbal said, "Bisyar khuban didaham, amma tu chizi digari." About the Prophet ﷺ, he said, "I've seen so many beautiful, amazing people, but you, O Messenger of Allah, you're something else." There's no comparison. Iqbal is in a league of his own when it comes to contemporary poet, and I think he is the mini Maulana Rumi, with no disrespect to Iqbal, a Maulana Rumi of our time. One thing about Rumi that attracts me towards him is that he doesn't preach. There's zero preaching in the entire Masnavi. You can't find any poem that he's preaching to you. And that's why a lot of non-Muslims are attracted to it. He leaves it open because he said, you're too intelligent for me to tell you, oh, do A, B, C, D, it equals to F. No. He said, I'm going to tell you, you figure it out. I know you can do it. I know you can do it. So he doesn't preach, and he doesn't like preaching. He said, I hate preachers where they say, do good, and then you go to paradise. Do bad, you go to hell. He said, why don't you just remind them who they are? And if they know their maqam and their station, they would only do good if they know what does it mean to be a human being. And those are the beautiful things that attracts me towards him. That it's not preachy. And number two, it's very universal. And it's not just for the Muslims. He wrote it for the humanity. It's a book for human being, and I think at this time we do need it to open that book, that it actually crosses boundaries and welcomes everybody. And a lifestyle that, just to live with peace, coexistence, and love. And that's the core message. But again, for the Muslim, they have to understand that all of that is based on the Quran and Sunnah. So he's not coming up with anything outside the Quran and Sunnah. There's nothing in the Muslim that you can find say, no, this is kufr, or this is shirk, or this is bid'ah. You can't. It's impossible to find anything like that because he was a Hanafi faqih. So that's the reason why he's really fiqh-based spiritual master.
Yeah. Ustadh, you're speaking about obviously the profound, deep love for Allah and the Prophet ﷺ. Going away from tonight, what steps can we take practically? Alhamdulillah, everyone's on their own journey and everyone's doing what they should be doing, or trying to do what they should be doing, and to get closer to this love.
Yeah.
But is there anything that we can go away with that practically, just to kind of little mini steps even?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good question. Whenever you read a book, if you like a book and I'll give you an example. If you read Lives of Man, first book on spirituality, right? Everyone age 12 and above should read that book, 12, 13. It's an easy book, you read it in a few hours, you're done. But it's a book that you should repeat once a year at least, or the Book of Assistance. These are very easy book to understand. Before you start reading Imam Ghazali's book, Imam Haddad's books are very simple, and it's the same minhaj, or Purification of the Heart, or any book that you read. It's a disservice to read a book and not do one thing from that book in your life. You just dishonored the author of that book, who took him a lifetime to put all that together and give you, and then you read the book, oh, that was a nice book. If you like the book, take one thing from that book. You know what? Oh, that's a beautiful dua in this book. I'm going to memorize it. I'm going to practice it. And I'm going to read it after every prayer. If you do that with every book, one or two things, you make your life better practically, not just theoretically that I read a book. With the Prophet ﷺ, you have to read the Seerah. And you have to read the Seerah every year. And the best time to read it, to review it, is Ramadan. Every Ramadan we should do a Seerah course where we read the book. In English, there's no excuse because there's so many good books. Modern Links is probably the best one. Muhammad's life based on the earliest sources. To read that, to go over it. Once you read it, then you have to stop at these points and kind of close your eyes and imagine like what happened to the Prophet ﷺ. Because it's really an experiential Seerah's experience for us. And those who have been to Medina and Mecca, when you read these stuff, imagine those places. So the Prophet ﷺ walked to the Ghar Hira. So imagine like how hard it was, just the Hijrah, to go Ghar Thawr. I tried Ghar Thawr for like 5 years, I couldn't climb it. I think it was the 6th time that I actually got to the top. It's really hard. And imagine they're just running from the enemy and trying to get on top of this in the middle of the night with no lights. Those things will bring feeling into your heart. So not just, and then remember all the favors that he has done for us. the blessing of bringing us prayers, the blessing of giving us all of these beautiful things that we have in Islam. And then read Hadith Shama'il is a good book to read on the description of the Prophet ﷺ, so you can kind of get acquainted with him and love the thing that he loved, what kind of food he loved. I'm going to cook that food and I'm going to eat it. What kind of, like scent he loved. So just to know the Prophet, the way he did his hair, the way his teeth looked, the way his beard looked. So it's good to know. Like this is one thing about lovers, they want to know everything about their beloved. I'm telling you, like people go to weddings and they come back and I don't know how they remember everybody's clothing. Like, so-and-so was wearing this, but the shoes wasn't matching. And I'm like, how the heck you guys just notice the shoes on the... So like, people notice these things because it's part of the love of clothing. But imagine if you fall in love with the Prophet and somebody can ask you, what did your Prophet look like? I don't know. Like, what was his hair color? I don't know. Was it curly? Was it wavy? Was it straight? I don't know. What kind of turban he wore? I don't know. What color shirt he liked? I don't know. What was his favorite color? Like, how are you going to get connected with the Prophet if you don't know anything about him? So the more you know about him, the more you will love him. Because that's how Allah made him. He's just lovable. Like if you just you will fall in love with him just as long as you just study him. To know him is to love him, like our Shaykh said.
A couple of questions from the sisters. You said Rumi was a philosopher. Was there a moment which inspired him just to concentrate on Islam alone? Please tell us a little about his personal journey towards teaching Islam. And the other one is, how do you get to the destination?
Oh, this is what you're reading?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't get that.
His personal journey towards teaching Islam.
Toward teaching Islam?
When he was a philosopher and all of these.
So, the thing was that he was a master of all of the sciences until the age of 30. I mean, I didn't do an introduction because it was like 35 minutes talk. So usually my introduction to Rumi is about 40 minutes. So on Saturday I'm going to do an introduction on the course. But just in a short, he was a master of all of the sciences of his time because of his father. His father was Sultan al-Ulama. He was a scholar's scholar, a Hanafi faqih, a Sufi master, and like an encyclopedia at a time that books were rare. So he had access to his father, and he was very sharp. So he mastered all of the sciences. So when he was 18, he was one of the most learned people in Karaman in Turkey. So he was born in Afghanistan. Age 12, they leave Afghanistan because of the Mongol invasion. They end up in Karaman in Turkey, and then they go to Konya, which is the capital of Seljuk Empire. His father becomes the chair of Islamic studies of Seljuk Empire. That's the intellect of his father. So when Rumi is 25 years old, Maulana Jalaluddin Muhammad Balkhi al-Rumi, when he's 25 years old, his father dies. When his father dies, he becomes the chair of Islamic studies of Seljuk Empire. So you can imagine what kind of intellect he had, that at age 25, he's not the chair of Islamic studies at Oxford, an entire empire of Islam at a time that you have people like Sa'di in Persia. I mean, it's filled with amazing scholars. This is 13th century. This is not an ordinary time. Attar Nishapuri, a lot of great scholars, but he is put at 25 as the chair of education and Islamic studies of an empire. So all of this happened, and then he grows until he's 38 years old. He's a master of all of the ulum. He speaks multiple languages: Arabic, Persian, Turkish. He has a poem that he has a lot of Greek in it. He spoke that shows that I speak this language as well. But in any case, at 38 he meets Shams Tabrizi, which comes and he basically flips Maulana Rumi and changes his life. Right? And after changing his life, he becomes a student again. So from being this teacher who in Konya is a superstar, Alauddin Qiqabad Mosque is still in Turkey, so people who visit Konya, they should visit it. It's a beautiful mosque. It probably fits about 10,000 people, like the masjid in the Sahan. And they used to say it used to get packed the entire masjid when he used to give a durus, and that's how big he was. Like, he was a superstar. And then he becomes a student of this guy who, like, nobody knows who he is. Outwardly he was nothing, but inwardly he was something. Then Shams is there for 2 years, he leaves one time, comes back, and then he disappears. We don't know what happened to him. Mysterious disappearance. And then he's quiet for a long time, and he just reads old poems of Attar and of other people until his two students, and this is why students are very important, Chalabi and Feraidoon Zarkub, push him to give original ideas. And after years and years and years of pushing him, he finally gives them the 18 lines from the beginning of the Masnawi that start with Bishna Waznei, the most famous lines. And then from there he started reciting. He never wrote anything. The only lines he wrote was the first 18 lines. Everything else, it was just coming to him. He would say it, and then the students were writing. They were always with a pen and paper writing what he would say. They say even in the hammam when he used to go for a shower, one of the students was always there with a pen and paper. If he gets inspired and say something, they would write it. And that's the dedication. 26,000 lines in the Masnawi, almost 50,000 lines in the Diwan al-Shams. They were all written mostly by Chalabi, because Feraidoon Zarkub died after the first chapter. That's why there was a delay between the first and second chapter for about 2 years. Maulana was quiet. But anyways, so then he started saying all this stuff. Most of the people didn't know what he was saying, but they just wrote it. And then it became this masterpiece of a book of teaching. But then his teaching was all inspirational. In the Fihi Ma Fihi, he says his son tells him, his son goes to him and he says, Father, I have requests from the students. They want you to teach this subject for tomorrow's class. He says, no problem. He said, I would prepare for that subject and I would go. When I would go, I would totally forget about what I prepared and I'm talking about something else. And they would say, you promised us you would talk about fiqh, why are you talking about aqidah? You promised us you're talking about aqidah, why are you talking about philosophy? So he said, what, I swear I prepare a class based on your recommendation, but what can I do? Things come to my heart and whatever comes, I just tell you. I cannot go by what I prepare. So everything that he did was inspiration to him from his teaching.
Just one final question, which I think you have answered. How do you get to the destination where the dunya doesn't matter and all you can see and feel is the love of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala?
There's two ways you do it. One way is 100 step, the other way is 1 step. So which one do you want? Everybody wants the 1 step. Yeah. It's the Great Britain. In America, they would say, is there anything with no steps? We can just, elevator just takes us to the 100 steps is that Abdullah Ansari came up with a book called Manazir al-Sa'irin. He also has the same book in Persian called Sat Maidan, the 100 Fields. So there's 100 steps to the divine presence until you get to that level of just annihilation of self. And the first step is Tawbah. You have to turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then once you turn, because if you're going the wrong direction, you can't get to the destination, right? Sa'adi says, Tarsam narasi bakaba'i a'rabi, kin rahka tumirawi baturkistan ast. He said, oh my friend, my Arab man, I'm afraid you will never make it to the Kaaba. He said, why? He said, this road leads to Turkmenistan. You're going the opposite direction. So if you go in the opposite direction, we will never make it to Mecca. So the first thing is to make Tawbah and turn towards Al-Wadud, towards the loving God. That's the first step, Tawbah. And then after that, you get step by step, there's 100 steps to get to Allah. The ulama, they've worked this out. It's not easy. It's not impossible. Anybody can do it, yes, but you just have to put time and effort and be serious about it. Now the 1 step. Easy. I swear to God, easiest thing, easiest step. یک قدم بر نفس خود نه وان دیگر در کوی دوست هر چی بینی دوست بینی این آنت کار نیست. Put 1 foot on your nafs, your other foot is at the divine presence. Immediately. And all you will witness is God and nothing else. What blocks you from Allah is your own nafs. There's nothing else. There is no walls between you and Allah. There's no physical wall. There's no spiritual walls. There's nothing. There's nothing. Hafiz said, Miyana ashiq wa ma'shuq hich ha'il neest. Between the lover and beloved, there is no barrier. To khud hijab khudi. Hafiz az miyan barkhiz. Oh Hafiz, you are the barrier. Get out of the way. We are the barrier between ourselves and God. There's no barriers. Where's the barrier? I don't see it. When you go to sajda, everything is left. There's a cosmic shift that happens when you go to sajda. Allah creates a cosmic shift in the seventh heaven. Everything has to move. There's nothing between me and my servant when he or she is in sajda. Where's the barrier? There's no barrier there. You are the barrier. It's the nafs, the ego, the desire, the wants, right? Buddha said your suffering is from your desire. Abdul Qadir Jailani said, Abdul Qadir Bedil, the great Indian poet, said, Tarki arazu kardam, ranja hasti asan shud. I abandoned my desires and the pain of existence became so easy. Sukht parfeshani ha kin qafas gulistan shud. And I was like a bird that was flying and I was burning. I wasn't getting anywhere. In this cage of fire of the dunya. He said, when I abandoned my desire, the cage turned into a rose garden. Like Ibrahim Khalilullah. He's in the fire, but he's in a rose garden. In the fire, there's a rose garden. So there could be a fire in the world, but you can create a rose garden inside your heart. By stepping over your nafs, over your ego, your desires, your wants. Right? They asked by Yazid Bustami, we'll end with this, to do the ceremony. They asked by Yazid Bustami, what do you want? He said, An khaham ka na khaham. I want that which I don't want. I want to get to that station where I don't want anything. That's what I want to reach, the station where I said, I really don't want anything. Imagine that station when I don't want anything. I'm fine. And that's insan al-kamil. A perfected human is free from the desires. Jazakallah khair. Thank you for listening and being patient. May Allah bless you and bless this community. And for honoring us and being here, sitting so patiently. Most of you sitting there are more qualified to be sitting here and speaking, and I'll be listening, but it's your adab and your beauty and your tradition that in humility. May Allah bless all of you.